What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to episode 53 of the U.S.S. Enterprise D tutorial. I'm Zero Elite, and I just want to thank you very much for tuning in today's episode. And if you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. And today we've got about a 29-minute episode, a little bit shorter than yesterday's, last episode of the week. And we're just going to be jumping right into it. We'll be going up to the corners here on the sides on the gray oval. On each corner here, we're going to be doing a pillar going all the way down. Now we're actually doing this for a couple of reasons, because we're actually getting ready to do some detailing into the floor here on for the underside of the saucer section. I want to do this before we close in the hull because it'll be easier to do it now rather than later. We're also eventually going to be adding in our walls, because I've been talking about that we're going to be building our mall that is on the Enterprise D. We're pretty much going to be using this oval that's directly above us. We'll be reusing that template to build the outline for the mall, which will be pretty cool. Because I like to work a little bit smarter, not harder, and reuse things where we can. Because as some of you know, I'm not a huge fan of the pixel circle generator. I only use it when I absolutely have to, and if I've already got a template down, I'm not even going to waste my time going into it. So we're just going to reuse what we got. You can see that I'm making a cut in between on the lower side of the hull, also counting underneath the block, and then we're going to be replacing that with white terracotta. Or excuse me, not white terracotta, white concrete, because the white terracotta is the more of the tan color. All right. That should actually be two. You could say I went three, but it should be two, as I'm actually using the pattern directly above us. And I'm doing this for a couple of reasons, because we are going to be adding in one more layer to the underside of the saucer, and this will give me a template to go off of. And again, we'll be using this to fill in our walls. And of course, I'm going by, if I do one thing on one side, I do it on the other while it's fresh in our minds to stop us from making mistakes. And then we're just doing 4 singles at an angle. And see, when you have a template to go off of already, without having to go to the pixel circle generator, definitely makes it a little bit easier. You can work a little bit faster, which is one of the reasons why I opted to do this as opposed to using the pixel circle generator, because I would have had to line everything up and get the direct measurements for it and everything. And at the same time, if I'm going to use the same template as what's above us, why not just use that template? We've got a little bit of access here, leftover build parts from before we removed the blue and the gray block. I don't do it on the left side, but I should have. Now, directly underneath that, going along the lip of the sea lanterns, we're going to be doing a cut. And we're not going to be doing this going all the way down. We're going to do this on the left side, and then we're going to go 2, and where it goes 2, and then we're going to go down the row of singles, I believe, at an angle, and then we're going to go over to the other side, do the same thing. This may not make that much sense now, but it will when we go back on the inside. All right, so in the last single, that's where we stop. So we're on 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I actually messed up on that very last one. Let's fix that. Okay. So let's do the same thing on the other side. And some of you may be wondering, why am I waiting until now to do this, or why am I not doing this maybe until later on? Because it doesn't look that dark now, but when we close in the top portion of the saucer, it's going to get unbelievably dark under here. And it's going to make it very difficult for us to get building done unless we add in a ton of sea lanterns for lighting. So that's one of the main reasons why I'm doing this now. And also, on the inside of the ship, while all that room, it pretty much hasn't been used up yet, it's easier to build and work with this area at this point, at this present stage. Makes the most sense to, anyway. Now, there are going to be things, detailing, that we'll be doing later on the underside of the saucer, but it's not going to be so drastic as what we're about to do right now. Now, if you look at the underside of the Enterprise D, like on each side of that oval, kind of has like these, I wouldn't call them wings, but they almost kind of look like a wing on each side of it. Um, I'd have to pull up the model exactly so you can see what I'm talking about. But once we get this built out, you'll know what I mean when you look at the underside of it. But it has this bit of detail that's on the underside, on the left side and the right side. We're going to be adding that in. We're not going to be finishing it up today. We're really just going to be getting the template done for it, and this will be something that we're going to end up revisiting later on too. Because I'm not going to lie, this is a first attempt as far as what I'm trying to figure out with it, and I think at this point, really, it's just that the overall outline of the shape of it is what I'm going for the most. The inside of it, that's going to vary, and we'll mess with this. We'll mess with it as we go. You can see I'm just going at an angle, and I'm bringing that all the way in almost. I'm literally stopping right before the divider line in the middle. Then we do one more. Then we're also going to come on here and along the side access lines, we're going to do a straight line going all towards the center. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Hey, you can see on that side I got rid of the gray block, but not the blue one. I should have gotten rid of that too. It's not a big deal. It's not messing up the build or anything. It's just a loose random block just sitting there. All right, now the inner oval that we were working on just a second ago, we're going to be swapping out these white concrete blocks with sea lanterns. You're probably thinking like, oh, well, that's fine and all, but won't we see this from the outside of the ship? Yes, you will, but we're going to be covering them up from the outside on the lower side with half slabs. So this way we can still keep that illumination going where we can hide our lighting, but still be able to have that area of the ship lit up. And some of this stuff today that we're doing is really prep work for things that are going to be coming along in future episodes. But still, this is a very vital point of the build because this is going to help us in the next layer that we add into the lower side of the saucer. You see, I'm not doing anything fancy. I'm just literally using the template that's directly above me. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Let's just keep on using what we got. All right, we're in good shape. Before I go too far along, I'm just going to repeat that same process again on this side. All right. You can see I'm counting my rows of where it's going to in. How many of those? Now we're going to repeat that. Now, talking a little bit about Star Trek news, I can't actually believe I missed this, and I don't know how I did, but apparently during Star Trek Day, they announced that there's multiple Star Trek films currently in development, which I think is pretty cool. Um, I know that's something that they've been talking about for a while, that they're getting ready to, amp up their shared universe, um, which I think could potentially be pretty cool. And like they on Discovery, they talk about it in the last season, if I'm not mistaken, of the parallel worlds and everything. When they're talking about the mirror universe, and they don't directly say the Kelvin timeline, but I think it's kind of implied. Um, I don't know if uh, any of these shows are going to intersect with some of the movies that they're going to be doing, or maybe they're going to be doing some mashups. Bringing the different franchises together, but it could be interesting. It all depends on how they do it. I think the one thing though that I really want to see, and I'd be interested to hear what other people are thinking about this, is that um, I think it would be a huge wasted opportunity if they didn't figure out a way to bring back William Shatner for at least one more movie. I know the guy died in Star Trek Generations, but for crying out loud, he wrote a book, The Return, on how Kirk could have come back. Um, and that book wasn't bad or by any means, but I'm not trying to shortchange him. But William Shatner is not the best science fiction writer, is what I'm getting at. And if he can come up with a way for Kirk to come back, I find it very, very hard to believe like they can't figure something out to do it. Um, I think that they could definitely make it happen, because the guy, he's still, even though he's 90, he does not look 90. I think it's crazy because they have that new Clint Eastwood movie, Cry Macho, that just came out, and I think Clint Eastwood's 93 years old, and the guy looks like he's 20 years older than William Shatner, if not 30 years older. William Shatner probably doesn't look like a day over 60. It's kind of, he's aged very, very well. So I think that if he did ever come back as Kirk, I think a lot of people could accept it, and it wouldn't be just some old guy coming back. I mean, yeah, he'd be at the end of the day he's 90, but he doesn't look it. And I think that there's something there. They could do something really cool. I know that they had that Con miniseries that they wrote. That would be something else I'd like to see. I think there's just more that I want to see out of that period in time, too, because I think when Star Trek Discovery was first announced, it was supposed to be uh, an anthology series where every season was going to be taking place in a different period. And it's funny because if you watch the show as it progresses, you can see some of that lingering with the show. With like the Enterprise coming in with season two, and then with them going forward in time and everything. Um, but I think that they had a lot more of that they were going to do with it originally, and I was actually hoping one of the periods that we could have seen is like that 78-year gap between the Shatner movies and the Next Generation. I think that's like one of the most unexplored areas in Star Trek that they really just haven't touched on at all, and that could be cool. I don't know. Anyway, getting back in a little bit what we got going on here, you can see we've almost got our oval completed on the underside. Now we are going to have to work out these edges here, and that'll be an easy fix. Really, the only thing that we'll have to do is maybe add a full block going in front of these sea lanterns, and then add a row of half slabs in front of that, just to blend it in. Really not a big deal at all. You can see now I'm changing my mind on that, not necessarily set on that. I might just try to do something else. I'm going to do the same thing back here. That very last row, I'm going to get rid of that. Trying to actually remember what I did here. I don't remember if I actually went back and I changed the outline like I just said, Maybe I just go with a cut line of what I have existing. Keep it one block behind what we currently have here. So this way it's not overlapping and they're still going one back. Because we need this, what we have going on here, that we're up in front there, there was at least a one block lip. So this way you're not seeing the sea lantern basically once we're getting up on that edge. That's the whole point of doing that. Yeah, I love that I kind of just stumbled across this and it would work out. I really wish that there would be other ways that I could hide the lighting on here and just completely eliminate the sea lanterns. If there is such a way, and I'm just missing it, be sure to drop a comment below in the comment section. I'm the first person to admit that I'm probably the last person to know everything that there is about Minecraft, and I'm always learning something new as far as being able to do different things on here. So if there are different ways to conceal your lighting on here that I'm not aware of, be sure to let me know in the comment section. I definitely would love to hear it. I know somebody had mentioned to me in the past of doing the having illuminated blocks. I wish that they would do that. Illuminated blocks, um, colored, fully range spectrum of colored half slabs and concrete and other materials. I mean, these are a must. And for whatever reason, Mojang just isn't doing it. And I guess that reason is that they just feel that they're better off putting out these paid DLCs for the game, which while isn't a big deal, I don't know. I think that ultimately Minecraft is, it started out as a, game of building stuff and, survival and all that. And I wish that they go a little bit more back to that because a lot of the TLC stuff that they've done recently, I mean, like for example with the caves, well, I think that's cool. I don't know how many people necessarily have actually asked for that. You know what I mean? But we'll see. We'll see what they do. Maybe they are working on it and they just haven't said anything about it yet. But I kind of take what they say, even with that, as a grain of salt, because I'm still one of those people that I remember them announcing the Minecraft Super Duper Texture Pack, and then they decided not to put that out and pretty much remake it to you'd have to have a super fancy graphics card on computer in order to play it, which I thought was kind of eh. And the sad part about it is that they didn't even announce that they weren't going to do it. They just kind of kicked it under the rug. All right, now we're going to be working our way back to that cut line that we made, and we're just going to be getting rid of the blocks here in between this cut line that we made on the left and right side of the saucer. Because pretty much what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be taking out all these full concrete blocks in between them and replacing that with half slabs. So this way there's a little bit of an indentation in there, which will look pretty cool. Now, once we do that, we are going to sit on this for a little while, but then we'll come back to it and we'll add a little bit more detailing and to try to make it look a little bit more um, like those pieces that are directly underneath the saucer. But hopefully now you have a little bit more of a better idea of what I'm doing. And when we zoom out when we're done and look at it, you'll probably really see it. But this is just a little bit of hull detailing basically, and I want to do this while we just don't have that much done on the outside. All right, that looks pretty good. Now we're going to hop over to the other side and we're going to repeat that same process again. It's hard to believe we're already up to episode 53. This is definitely going to be a long one. I was actually going to clip another part of the episode in today just to get some more stuff done, but the next part would have blown up today's episode. I just sound like, just bring it back a little bit. We can do a 29-minute episode. That's good enough. And we're just keep going at the pace that we're going. We're making steady progress here. Not in any type of relay race or anything to get this thing done. However long it takes us, that's how long it takes. Because really my goal with this thing is I want to get as much done as I possibly can on the Enterprise D. Because, I've been working on this thing since February. And I really want to try to flesh this thing out as much as I possibly can. So hopefully, By the time this thing is done, everybody loves it, and then I'm happy with it too. So far, I'm really happy with it, though. I don't really have any complaints. It's still really, and I've been detailing the inside of the ship, but there's still certain sections. Well, I won't say certain sections. I just now have started filling in the saucer section. Um, One of the first things I actually built was 10 forward, which was actually kind of fun building that. But other than that, there really in the saucer section, there really isn't that much that I've actually built out other than the mall, and the shuttle bays, and the bridge. Now, in the lower hull, for example, that's a completely different story. I've was talking about this yesterday. The majority of the lower hull, I've pretty much have kind of reserved that to engineering, and the deflector control room. That's absolutely massive. I think everybody's going to love that when that's done, and then engineering will look really cool. And of course, we'll have the engineering section that everybody remembers from the show, but then there's going to be a lot of other sections in engineering too that you just never got a chance to see. And I'm trying to, like, where I can here and there, I'm trying to add in details that I can find from the blueprints of the Enterprise that I can transition over into Minecraft, but it's not easy when you're working with those types of blueprints. So a lot of it, I'm just kind of winging together to try to make something that looks pretty cool. So hopefully everybody likes it. Anyway, getting back in a little bit what we got going on here. Now you can see on the top side of our bottom row, we're just doing a row of half slabs. So this way on the underside, there is a small lip, just like that. We're not doing too bad so far. Shot through 21 minutes of today's episode. We still got about 7 minutes left. We got plenty of time to finish up what we're working on today, and that'll take us into the weekend, and then we'll pick back up next week. But hopefully next week we'll start filling in the saucer section, the upper side of it. But I'm trying to remember. I think that I might actually do the wall first for the excuse me, might do the wall first for the maul of the ship before we close that in. Or maybe I close it in and then did. I don't remember. It's all kind of a blur at this point. But next week, before I do the episode, of course, I'll do a refresher before I do the video. This way I'm up to snuff with everything that we're doing. Because this stuff, it kind of blurs together, especially after you've been working on it. We're like, I mean, at this point, we're going February to March, March to April, April to May, May to June, June to July, July to August, August to September. I mean, we're pretty much going on 7 months working on this thing. Not every single day, taking breaks here and there, but still nonetheless, it's been a 7 month build so far. Really, what my goal is at this point is I'm just going to keep working on it until we're done and keep putting out episodes until it's done. Um, if it gets to a point where we're getting into the hundreds, maybe I might take a break and work on another ship, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how I feel on that. Don't take anything that I'm saying now about that officially. I would honestly be more inclined to expect that I'm just going to keep doing this until we're done, because I don't want to get into a point or a habit that I start working on something and then I stop and I start working on something else. I really want to make it a habit. Just, once I start something, I finish it. So I do want to talk a little about what I got going on here before we get into it too much. You can see that I'm adjusting the shape of our outline here. Off not the first block, but the second. You can see I'm making another cut to bring it one back. Then after that, I go two. And then two, and I'm going with a cut line. We're doing a two. I'm not crazy about the shape of it. And then the last one is one. I already did that on the one side, and I'm doing it on the other. So you want to make a point to do that on the opposite side as well. I'm just kind of zooming out, taking a look at it to make sure that's what I want. I think that looks a little bit more better. This just looks, I don't know, looks too narrow. And see, this is what it looks like now I'm looking at it. Not a wing. This is more like a fan, like a Japanese fan is kind of what that looks like. But no, that detail is definitely on both sides of this piece on the other side of the saucer. So trying to nail that shape down. I think that looks good enough that we're going to do the same thing on the right side. Remember, we're going one back and now two. Remember, we're going with cut line that we have started out here. Make sure we're going a pattern of two, except for the last one. That's a single. Remember, same thing here. Skip the first one, just one, then two. So the first and last one that you cut out, those are singles. Okay, that looks pretty good. And really what I should be doing before I get too far ahead of myself is filling in this outline with white concrete. Because I got a little bit overzealous and I just kind of started deleting stuff. Very important to do this, so this way if you don't actually delete an extra block, keep both sides exactly the same. And now we can get rid of all this extra that has accumulated now we've kind of stretched this back. I think this will look a lot nicer now too. The fan that we're making won't look so compressed, so look a little bit more stretched out as it should be. Now the same thing here, before we get too far ahead, let's fill in that outline that we cut out. Now on this side, we can get rid of that access and then fill that in with half slabs. And then do the same thing on the other side, then that's going to wrap us up today. Still have just enough time to hopefully get this done. So far, so good. This is one of the advantages of building stuff out because, you know, if even if you're not set on it, this gives you a palette to look at. And if you're not crazy about it, you can slowly start to make changes to it and see what's missing. That's all we're doing right now is we're just looking at what we have and making decisions on what works and what doesn't work. And in this case, the fans that we were building, they just weren't long enough. Because you'll notice that when you're building stuff on ships, certain details that you do will dictate a ship either looking too small or too big in some areas. And so that was one of the reasons too, is I didn't want these pieces to look too small. I wanted them to be stretched out just a little bit. So this way, when we're looking at it from the outside, it has a little bit more of that grandiose feel to it. And see, that's so much better. Now you can clearly see those things. Now they are missing a little bit of detailing inside of them, but the shape of it, that's nearly right on the money. That's right where we want to be. Pretty happy with how that looks. But all right. I think that's going to wrap us up today. I just want to thank you all again for tuning in today's episode. And don't forget, you can always catch my new videos dropping Tuesdays through Thursdays. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up for me. I just want to thank you all again for tuning in today's episode. And I hope everybody has a happy and safe weekend. And of course, what did you build today in Minecraft? Be sure to drop a comment below. Let me know in the comment section.